Let's talk kingdom. He's the one you can lean on. He don't change, he stays the same. Won't find a better reason, no. So come tap in, just listen. And bring a friend, let's spread this vision. Let's talk kingdom. He's the one you can lean on. He don't change, he stays the same. Won't find a better reason, no. So come tap in, just listen. And bring a friend, let's spread this vision.
And Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you. So glad to be with you in this moment and in this time. This is an opportunity to bring glory to Yahweh, who is our Elohim. We take the moment to bring you to a place of understanding today that we are moving quickly into and have already entered into the times that are the most holy day of the year. Certain parts of the globe have already begun to experience this, and we're so glad to be able to bring you into that space. If you are on YouTube, if you are on Facebook, make sure that you hit the heart sign and the like sign, that we might get moving with the areas that we need to move in. As well, we're going to take this opportunity to pray and bring ourselves into the knowledge of who and what Elohim has given unto us to do and how that looks with regards to his word. Let us prepare our hearts to pray. Father, we thank you for the day, the time, the space. We thank you for the place that you've given unto us. We thank you for the hope that you've created within our souls. There is literally none like you in all of the earth, and we exalt you for who you are and why you are in this moment in time. To you be glory, honor, dominion, might, and power, which is literally both now and forever. We exalt your name. We thank you for who and why you are, asking you to grace us with the wisdoms that come from you and you alone. There is none like you. And as we enter into this most holy time of the year, we ask you to prepare our hearts so we come in properly, we come in appropriately, and we come in you. This is our earnest prayer. In the mighty and the precious name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we all say and we pray, hallelujah and amen. Well, everyone, we're so glad to be with you today, and I'm hoping that you have taken the opportunity to begin to prepare yourselves. As we've been in Yamim Nareen all this time, we want you to also understand and embrace some things that are relatively significant to our walk today. I'm going to do my very best to bring us into a place where we can see what Elohim would for us to do. For those of you who are tuning in, we'll be using a little bit of our board today, chalkboard, as well as those things that are necessary to bring you and I into the knowledge of these particular truths that we have to share with you this day. So let's take the time right now and put ourselves into mode of what does the word say about everything about this season. Many people are confused. Many different doctrines are running out there, sadly, even from within our own camps. But again, I want to make sure that every pastor and leader who finds themselves in position to carry the gospel, that you are able to carry it rightly and not out of your intellect and not out of your own mind. So let's take this opportunity to begin to speak to what we must deal with. And we've got a lot to do today, to China, and to not just China, but Vietnam. We began our programming and they've entered into the Sabbath of Yom Kippur. Those of you who were with me, would y'all do me a favor, because we won't have a chance to do this again. Two things I want to make an announcement on before we start today. And I don't have a lot of time, so I need y'all to really pay attention today. You don't have time in this. If you are a part of Darash Kingdom Ministries, you're here on Wednesdays and you're here on Morrow after Sabbath service, that's your responsibility to the ministry. If you're here with you, Darash or VWJ Ministries, that's when you're here. Sabbath is a time of sweet rest. We aid you in Sabbath. The Moedim, you're here for the Moedim. However, today's a unique thing because it's the day that if you are DKM, a citizen, or claim to be, because a lot of y'all say you are, but you're really not, because you can't be and then teach differently than what we teach. So if you're out and you're not here on these days, we don't know how that works for you, except whenever you're absent, there needs to be accountability. So I want to make sure that these things are clear today on the DKM with just a tad bit of the housekeeping that's necessary. The second thing I need you to understand is that we're going to cease all the conversations with you about the emails we receive from the different places and programs that we've had. Now, one thing is for sure, and I want to make sure that everybody gets it, is that we won't be, requiring you to make comments. I found out that the requirements for what the email was speaking of for the different places of YouTube and Facebook are probably not out of reach for us, but not something I'm going to have you guys doing. So I want to say thank you to each of you who took the opportunity to indulge me in some weird thing that I thought could be accomplished in a short period of time, over 30 days, and had you typing and texting all hard and fast and trying to get up algorithms for whatever the purposes were of the possibility of monetization. So we won't concern ourselves with that yet another day. Yahweh has kept us long before. We thought it would be an opportunity to push forward in the ministry a free element of, free advancement and enhancement of the ministry. So I want you all to please make it your business to keep that in mind. We won't be pushing you to make comments or remarks or anything of that nature. But I do want to make sure that we put our hands and our hearts together for what is truly Elohim's. If you find that and you believe that you're learning in this ministry, feel free to share it. Feel free to, without knocking down someone's door, give them the information, but rightly. Today, I'm going to help some of you with rightness of the writ, because though we come into the knowledge of Elohim, oftentimes we think we know because a teacher teaches us, and then we take what the teacher teaches us and we take it to a level that it is not. Or we take it in a way that we think we understand it rather than ask the teacher, rather than ask your professor. That's what higher learning is all about. So today we're going to help many of you based on what I've been receiving and hearing, that you can understand why you go into these high holy days rightly. And remember this, people. The enemy of your faith is always going to bring you to a place of trying to have division or non-unity in your camps. Do not be the one who is a divider of people from Elohim's rightly taught, rightly expressed word. Now, I want to say this again. This is a warning to all. Before we stand before the Father, do not allow yourself to engage intellectually, which makes you in some cases ignorant of the word of Elohim, to where you propagate or push forth something in your ignorance, coupled by your intelligence, that divides people from his word because you thought you knew something, or you have an axe to grind somewhere. Never work from shadows, people. We're in the last day of Yamim Nareem, literally the last hours. And as I was sitting in my own time, and still am, of introspection, I'm realizing that we can do things unaware and yet clearly be in disobedience with the Father. Do not ever find yourself bringing what we know as uncertainty to any people of your congregation, of your synagogue, of your temple, of your place of worship by your intellect because you want to be something that maybe you're not prepared to be yet. Every one of you in this ministry is designed and being pushed to be the leaders that Elohim designed you to be. But before you leap out, make sure you have an understanding of the writ, not something you read from the Bible. Understanding means you grab culture. So before we move into a day after Yom Kippur, where we cry, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear, then I will, all the thens come in. It's the if. Now we are at a point, people, where your intellect, my intellect, your introspection culminates in a place of who am I? So the preparation for Yom Kippur is under the concept of Sukkah. Now, I'm going to do this on the board very quickly. And those of you who are in Clubhouse, you can join us over on Facebook. But please, and I don't want anyone to say this, if you're listening to me, this message, all of it, is for you. I am not your, commander. We are fellows in a ship, and we are fellowshipping to get to the other side, that salvation remains ours. More importantly, that we can enter into eternal life. Oh, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell, hang out, live together in unity. There, in unity, not division, in unity, not in the shadows talking, in unity, not backstabbing, in unity, Elohim commands the blessing. If there's no unity within the camp, then Elohim's not obligated to bless the camp. So when you are talking against your brother, you're talking against your sister, which we understand in introspection in the days of Yamim Narim, you are bringing division rather than unification. Now, if there's misinformation and you are trying to correct something that might be misinformation, make sure you go to where the misinformation is so you can sit with that person, understand the information before you propagate it in a place you can't retract it. And now what you said in error or what you said in grandeur has gone out into the atmosphere and can't be brought back in because now it's recorded, it's digitized, it's in ones and O's, and everything can be recalled about that. The Bible declares there's a woe to that. Woe unto people who teach my people contrary to my word. That is a paraphrase, but I want you to know it is an actual biblical Torah verse. Notice I said Torah and biblical in the same sentence. So many of you are digging through information and you have a resident theologian. If you are part of DKM, use me or use Apostle Walker or use Pastor Spencer. Use us before you propagate garbage. So now that we go into the most holy day of the year to cleanse ourselves, let's let the word wash us whole so we understand what we're talking about. Now, pay attention to this because this is going to be rubbing many of you in a great way. And some of you is going to scratch your back and others is going to irritate your skin because we are in the wrong state of mind. And I want to make sure we all get this. I've gotten so many emails and so many texts that people are curious about, well, what are you guys teaching? And how does it really work? And, oh, that's not true. You don't have to do that. Who said you give offerings? Who said you go to the temple is gone. You don't do this stuff. I want to give you these writings. I want to give you these passages. I want to give you this construct of Elohim for his kingdom. And then I want you to see the word for itself, and maybe it'll answer your questions. Be careful. Going into the year 5784, of propagating anything based on your inquisitive intellect that cannot be connected to Elohim's instructions. Before you speak from your intellect and your inquisitive nature to any part of the nation, especially this kingdom, make sure you have vetted it by 2 or 3 witnesses. There is a difference in reading your Bible and studying the word. There is a difference between reading your Bible and studying the word. Reading leads to study. Study is an actual function to extrapolate the truth or the nectar from this beautiful flower, which is the word of Elohim. And just because you saw the flower doesn't mean you know how to extract the nectar from it. That is where horticulture comes in. And it's a make sure you do not speak out of your ignorance because you have a platform, you have a voice, because your voice can get your butt in trouble. Not with me or your leaders or your teachers, but with Elohim, who you sought counsel for that you might guide people into him. Vet the information you speak before you speak. And just because you can speak doesn't mean you should speak. And when you do speak, let it be through the lens of Torah. And if you're questioning it, you're not ready to speak about it until you have confirmed it. My name is Apostle V.W. Jones Sr., founder of DKM Ministries, founder of VWJ Ministries, overseer of all that are under this umbrella, and responsible for every word that comes off of any platform that says it's connected to me. If you don't speak like me, if you don't teach what we teach, don't put my name in your mouth. 5784 to 5785 to 5786, because we teach from the writ verified. Don't speak because you heard something on our platform and then you didn't understand it. If you don't understand, don't ask my neighbor. Come to me. Don't be afraid. I'll take you right to what we know, and you can see it for yourself. You don't have to fish. Speak and preach smarter, not harder. Now, many of you might think that that's arrogant. If you don't know me, you don't know DKM Ministries. This is our time for service, why we gather together to know how to go forward as a people, because we dwell together in unity. So when you're here every day for DKM, Sabbath, Morrow after Sabbath, Wednesday night Bible study, these things you understand. But when you're absent, you miss points, you miss cues, and you may misquote and mislead. Not intentionally, but definitely. So today we want to clear some things up about Sukkah, because tonight at sundown, at least on the East Coast, we are in it. Now, for those of you who have had questions and didn't have the rights or felt that you had the rights to ask, I want to help clear up some of the things that I've gotten in emails, that I've gotten in texts from some of our leaders. I love you, leaders, but you know better. You can call me. You can text me. You can get on the booklet page. But we cannot have the word of Elohim go out wrong from this platform. And if that's you, Cinderella or Samrella, put the shoe on and come to Yom Kippur with it so we can put it in the fire and destroy it. Because I don't want woe coming on you because you mistook his word and shared it with people that divided them from a relationship with him. Very unorthodox conversation I'm having with you right now, but extremely important. Now, let's get into why we're here for Sukkah. What does Yom Kippur do for us? Let's go through our Bibles to Leviticus chapter 23, and I want y'all to stay as close to me as you can. If you're still with me and you know that I love you enough to tell you the truth, even if it makes me look bad, I want you to say, I proclaim Sukkah.
I proclaim Sukkah.
All right, now listen to this closely as we move quickly into these elements that Yahweh has given unto us. Moderators, you are here today in Clubhouse. We have a lot of visitors and people who've been looking and popping in. It's a Sunday, tomorrow after Sabbath service for us. Bring everybody up with a microphone on Clubhouse because I want to teach so everybody can learn. All right, so everyone in Clubhouse, you're going to be getting a microphone dropped to you. Please accept the microphone. Today is unique because we're preparing for the most holy day of the year, and some of you are already in it. Most of us are about to hit it. The UK, we will be having your coming into Yom Kippur right after this programming here on the East Coast. I'm begging, if you are a part of this ministry and you are on Clubhouse, please accept the microphone and come on up. This is supposed to be your time of service. If you're not a part of DKM Ministries, but you just pop in from time to time because you like how we teach, take the microphone. You don't have to talk. But I do want to make sure we have order in this house because Yahweh is the God of decency and order. And though it might seem like a very unorthodox way to do things, it is the only way to make sure, because I'll call Cap in a minute. And I don't care who you are because we need to know his truth. All right. Now, Sukkah is according to the Torah. Can y'all say that? Sukkah is according to Torah. Now, I want to deal directly with this because I want you to understand that there are things in your Bible. Look up on the screen today. I'm going to put this on a chalkboard behind me. Sukkah is a part of Torah. It is a commandment from Leviticus chapter 23. All right, I'm going to put it on the board so you can see it as well. It's Leviticus 23. You'll also find it in Devarim chapter 16. You'll also find it in the book of Numbers. You'll find it also in the book of Shemot. So we know that the Torah are the first 5 books of our Bible. You don't have to go out and buy a book called the Torah because you already have the book if you own the Bible. That's the first piece of ignorance I want to clear up today. Sukkah is in the fall season of every year, and that fall month is called the 7th month. It's called Tishri. Now, as you know, we have 3 feast seasons in that year. 12 months, you have Sukkah, you have Pesach in the spring, you have Shavuot in the summer, and then it comes back to Sukkah in the fall. So Sukkah begins the feast season, starts it, pushes us to Pesach in the spring, gives us rain in the spring. Then it takes us to a reservation that we're looking for Shavuot in the summer. Shavuot, the summer harvest, carries us into the fall and ends the cycle of the feast season. Now, in Judaism and in what we call Judaism, they have a word called festival. Okay? Now, with festival, you have ethnic holidays. Now, holiday and holy day, Sukkah is holy day. Yom Teruah is holy day. Yom Kippur at sundown this day is the most holy day. Sukkah, these 8 days are the 15th holy day, 22nd holy day. They are festive events. Now, a festival is festive. And if you are in the cultures of Israel modern day, you'll hear festival and think it means feast, though a feast is festive. And these are all feasts. I want everybody to say feasts of Yahweh. Feasts of Yahweh. I want more participation, but I want y'all to speak quickly. So stay near your phones because we're going to learn today like you've never learned before. Okay. I want y'all to get this. Those of you that have been with us a long time, I want you to understand. Now say it again. These are the feasts of Yahweh. Feasts of Yahweh. Now a feast can turn into a festival because every feast is festive. It's a celebration. Now, for the ignorance that comes out of our mouths as Christendoms, because y'all know in Christendom, we always do 1, 2, 3. Can we say it again? Because I don't have enough people on my platform that's part of DKM that are saying that. Can y'all say this together with us? Because you're supposed to be, hearing about in this class today. So on the count of three, tell me what we do in Christendom. 1, 2, 3. Too much. So when you call a feast of Yahweh not a feast of Yahweh, you're not with Yahweh. A feast of Yahweh is in fact found in Leviticus chapter 23. And there are 7 feasts, not festivals, of Yahweh. There are 9 days these feasts play out in. They are inextricably feasts and commandments, mishnahs of Yahweh. So there are 9 days in which the 7 appointed times feasts are done. These 7 feasts appointed time are done in 3 feast seasons. You have Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkah. Can y'all say feast seasons? Now, in those 3 feast seasons, you have 7 feast times. Say that, please. 7 feast times. Come on. Now, those 7 appointed times are feasts. They carry out over 9 days. So the days in the feast season of Pesach are 4. The days in the feast season of Shavuot is 1. That's 5. The days of Sukkah is 4. That's 9 total. But they are 7 appointed times for feasting and celebration. Now, many people who think that we understand God better than himself must understand that when Elohim says something, that's what he means. Leviticus chapter number 23. Verse number 1, I'll put it on the screen for you to see, and then we'll come back to the board. Leviticus chapter number 23, verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel. Can y'all tell me who he's talking to here? So Yahweh is talking to the children of Israel, who he just brought out of Egypt, so he could give them a new place to start his kingdom in the earth. Now pay attention. Don't get twisted. Listen, hear this, and don't just listen to this. Are you prepared? Are you ready? I need you to listen. Hear with your inner ear of Elohim. Speak unto the children of Israel, verse 2, and say unto them concerning the festivals of Yahweh.
Feast of Yahweh.
Oh, it says feast, right? It doesn't say festival, does it?
No, sir, it doesn't.
Okay, so I want to make sure we're reading this. That's why I asked y'all to grab microphones so we can all talk together today on this unprecedented way of doing things. So verse 2 says, the children of Israel are told concerning the feasts. Now the word feast, I'm going to put it up on the board for you. Please pay attention on the screen. I want y'all to watch this. On the screen, I'm taking the Leviticus 23, verse 1, and I'm giving you what's known as the feast. So in verse 2, chapter 23, speak to the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh. Now a feast means a moed. Plurally, it's moedim. So a moed is, watch this, it is properly an appointment. It is a fixed time and or season. Specifically, the feast is a festival. Now, mind you, the festival is not always a feast. Conventionally, a year, by implication, The feast, the moed, is an assembly. We convene on a definite time and purpose. Technically, it's where the congregation gathers according to a definite purpose and time. By extension, the moed is a place of meeting. Also, it is a signal as appointed beforehand, an appointed sign, an appointed time, an appointed place of solemn assembly for the congregation of Elohim. It is set, it is solemn, it is a feast, it is an appointed time, and it has a due season. It is a set time appointed. Somebody say a feast can be festive. Say it. A feast can be festive. Now, the feast, verse number 2, again, Yahweh said, tell the children of Israel concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you, Israel, my people, I just brought out of Egypt, you will proclaim these feasts to be Chodesh Mikros, holy convocations, meaning a time you gather together before me. Verse number 2, the word holy is Kodesh. Now, those of you with me in Daraj Kingdom Ministries, you know this already. Redundancy is always our greatest teacher, but I want you guys to not be doing a whole bunch of different things. I want you to be focused on what we're telling you because you're entering into a very important day. Some of you are already in this important day, and I want to make sure you guys understand how you go about this day. It is to be proclaimed a holy convocation. These, he's about to tell you, are my moedim, not festivals. But the moedims do become festive. They can be classified as festivals, but they are not the festivals of the Jews. They are the feasts of Yahweh. Now, again, the feasts are considered to be and proclaimed holy convocations. The word for holy is Kodesh. It means a sacred place or a sacred thing. It means consecrated thing, a dedicated thing, a hallowed out thing, a most holy thing and portion, a saint and a sanctuary. So Kodesh means holy. Holy means Kodesh. Convocation, the next word, is the word H4744. It means mikra. A mikra, rather pronounced, the Hebrew word is mikra. It means something that is called out, a public meeting. This is a moedim, a public meeting. The act, the person, or the place. It is also a mikra, a rehearsal place, an assembly, a calling, convocation, and then you see the word reading attached to it. So the feasts of Yahweh are not about what you eat with your mouth. It is about what you eat into your soul. Messiah walked the planet to tell you that the way you're taking the word isn't the way he intended you to receive the word. So when you feast on Yahweh, you're feasting on his word. Any day of a Shabbat, Moedim or seventh day, you are not speaking your own words. You are speaking his, because his words is the power. His word is the glory. His word is the honor forever. You're feasting on his word. Do not let your English or your whatever modern day language you speak, interpretation of his holy words from a different language at a different era of time, give you an entitlement to think you can change the definitions of what he wrote. You see a feast that's stuffing your face with mayonnaise and mustard and hot dogs and baked beans and tuna tartare and jalapenos. That's not the feast Yahweh is talking about. Every one of these 7 appointed times, on every one of these 9 days, is a feast. Watch this closely. The 10th day of Tishri is the most holy day of the year. So out of the 7 feasts, there is one of those days that is actually a fast. F-A-S-T. So if you remove the E from feast, you get fast. I'm just playing with words. It's got no significance to the point, but I want you to realize that of the 7 appointed times that are deemed feasts, one of them, the most holy day, is a fast. So in the 7 days that are feasts, you both eat spiritually and you are allowed to eat naturally. And you do this as a assembly. You're eating only his word in that assembly, and you're having some unleavened bread, and you're having some lamb, and you're having some ula, whatever it is that you're eating in that day, in that season, your figs, your nuts, your berries, your olives. It's something that you do as a people, which is where you and I as Christians always end up in the annex building in our faith. This thing trickles over. You want to have a fellowship, you bring food. Yahweh says, I want y'all to gather. I'm going to be in your presence. Bring some food, bring your great cheer on any of these days. However, on the one day, the 10th of Tishri, the Father's Day, I want you to only eat spiritually. Messiah said, I have meat you know not of, but he was feasting the entire time he was in that fast. So don't let your intellect have your mouth state something that you're going to have to present your butt to God for to answer why you told people that these are not a feast when he said, tell Israel about my feasts. Check yourself before you have to get checked by him. It is a terrible thing to fall into the hands of Yahweh, who is our Elohim, because you decided you were going to communicate on his behalf, half-cocked and unvetted. So you have 7 feasts. Say one of those feast days is an actual fast. The issue with the fast is that you're feasting spiritually, only on his word. And he's preparing the meal. What do you mean, Apostle? This feast of Sukkah, this day of Yom Kippur, Yahweh says, I don't even want you to speak your words on this day. I don't want you to bring your food on this day. I'm preparing the meal from spiritual and for the natural for you. And you got 24 days just to sit with me. I'm going to give you the script I want you to say. That script will be the actual entree. It'll be your hors d'oeuvres. It'll be your dessert. It'll be your late night snack. It'll be your doggy bag. I'm giving you a script that my word, which created the world, which created the food you naturally shove in your mouth, I'm giving you my words on what I want you to say, what I want you to do. And when you do this, it will do what David cried. Quicken thou me according to your word, Elohim. So you are feasting on his divine holy word in the fast he's asked you to do from your natural world. Do not teach contrary to that. And if you do, do not connect yourself to me. I'll be here for you when you come to your senses. I don't care how long I've known you. I don't care how long you've been with this ministry. I don't care what you've done with this ministry. If you are teaching this and behind my back, you are not with me. And if you are, please disconnect my name from anything you are sharing with Elohim's people that I sweat, bleed, and have cried and have been humiliated over teaching these things rightly. Because I got to go into Yom Kippur and let him know I found this out. Help me clean my camp. This ain't a game. This ain't about you getting likes. This ain't about you getting big. This is about you understanding Elohim, because he elevates. It is not by might of man, nor by power of your resources. It's by his spirit. That's what the feast is about. Every day in Leviticus 23 is a feast. Even the fast is a feast. Why is he so angry? Because if I've reared you in the faith, I did it free of charge. I did it because we love you. I might not be a perfect man, but I'm going to share with you his word as it is vetted. Do not go behind my back. Do not go into any other platforms. Do not go into any other church or synagogue and question what you've learned here, and you haven't brought that question to me here. My emails are flooded because people are being convicted in the times of Yamin Nareem, and they're sending me, this is what someone said. They're sending me text about this is what someone said. This is what they're saying. Aren't these, I got pastors saying, aren't these people your pupils? I had a bishop contact me yesterday. Hey, didn't you have such and so under your platform? Yeah, they are. Well, bro, I know what you teach, but do y'all know I was at some place and this is what I'm hearing them saying? Are you teaching that now? The word of Elohim is clear. Verse 2, Leviticus 23. Speak to the children of Israel. Say it. Say, I am Israel by faith. I'll wait. Come off mic. 1, 2, 3. Say, I am Israel by faith. These 7 appointed times are feasts. Let's read it so you don't have to ever be confused because you're trying to be deep and you're trying to get likes and you're trying to get monetized. And that's why I want to repent to y'all. I took this daggone email and went with it. I've had to repent to Elohim. I'm even sorry I even put you guys through that kind of pressure. It'll never, ever happen again. Trust me, my heart has been convicted and my heart has been rent. And now to know that I, in my efforts to see that, have allowed for this to be a breach in the hedge that lets that spirit ruminate or circulate within our ministry. I promise you it will be killed on this particular day of meeting with the Father. It is now officially in his hands. So woe unto you, each of you. I pray your salvation. I pray you correct your ways. And if you do not, I'm going to love you no matter what. But now you know where you got to go. And anyone else, you need to make sure before you speak and preach and teach, because you are talking stuff that Christendom is so enamored with right now, but doesn't understand. Do not let yourself get gassed up. Do not let yourself get hyped up because somebody say, ooh, sis, ooh, bro, that's new. I heard that, man, that's deep. Where you get that from? And then you decide rather than bring them back like the woman at the well that said, come see a man that taught me what I know now. Instead of you doing that, you want to try and teach them. Beloved, don't set yourself up. Don't set yourself up for failure because somebody said, ooh, you deep. Worst mistake I ever made, which is probably why you're here in this ministry now, so you don't make that same mistake. And you have me who played Bobo the Clown and Buffy the Fool, so you don't have to. The word of the writ tells us right here. He says, as far as this goes, this is one of the pieces I want to touch on. The feasts of Yahweh are in fact fasts. The fast of Yahweh is in fact a feast. Every festival is not a feast. Every fast of Yahweh is. Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feasts of who?
Yahweh.
Come on, stay on top. Don't back down now. We in this together.
Yahweh.
Come on, keep your fingers on your microphones. I want this to be something we all understand. I want to make sure you're not cooking in the back. I want to make sure you're not cleaning up the toilet bowl at the house because you have a virtual church. I want to make sure you are hearing this today. This is the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy gatherings. So if you gather on any of these 9 days, you are in a holy convocation. That is a feast. You might not eat, the food you want to eat or think you're eating, you are here for a feast of some sort that Elohim has already constructed. Verse 3, he tells you how you're supposed to treat this feast. 6 days, work will be done. 7th day is a Sabbath of rest. These that I've just told you about are to be deemed like a 7th-day Sabbath, where you do the resting, you don't go to work. And let me tell y'all about this too, before we move on, because I got to get this off my chest before I lay before the Father. Do not come in. Check your microphones for a second. I'm glad y'all near them. Do not think that you can play with Elohim. That goes for me and every other apostle on this platform, every other pastor on this platform who's overseeing ministries, every other prophet, every other evangelist. Do not think you can play Elohim. Do not think you can get the blessings of Elohim, but you don't comply with Elohim. Whether it be you don't present your body because you fear your job. When Yahweh says, I want you off from work. If you've been with us any period of time, you already know the schedule. We gave you the schedule for 5783 to its end, where you are right now, entering into 5784. And guess what we've done? You also now have the schedule for next year. So schedule these days off. Yahweh wants you to present your body a living sacrifice. That is what Romans chapter and number 12 was about. Present your body a living sacrifice. This is what that's about. These feast days of Elohim, present your body. That's the living sacrifice. Not you coming to church on Wednesday night, unless it's a day of Sukkah or Yom or Pesach or Shavuot, whatever these 9 days, 7 appointed times are. This is what that means to present your body a living sacrifice. Kodesh and acceptable. Because this is what he expects you to do. That's what's acceptable to him. Not your church, not your prayer service, not your revival, not your church year anniversary, not your pastor's anniversary. No disrespect to any of them. Celebrate them, but do not substitute them for Elohim's acceptable day. Present your body. That's my alarm for UK. I'm coming, y'all. So understand this when you're reading this. Is that clear to you? Do y'all get that? Talk to me.
Yes.
This is the feast day of Yahweh. Verse number 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th-day Sabbath, you know that the 7th day is a Sabbath day of rest. So these days I'm telling you about, which are special, they are holy convocations. You shall do no work therein. It is a Sabbath of Yahweh in all of your dwellings. Did he say whether the temple was in place?
No, he did.
Did he say whether Levi was the high priest? Was the Torah given to a Jew?
No.
So those of you speaking foolishness, what's wrong with you? I feel Apostle Malone coming up out of me. What's wrong with you? Who has bewitched you that you would believe a lie rather than the truth we've been laboring to share with you, proven to you through the writ? You can't even prove the point you're trying to make because you don't know where to find it in the writ, and you're searching through the writ, asking questions of people who are vulnerable to hear any form of truth that came from a platform you may have introduced them to, but now you've taken them off into the corner in the dark, in a booth, in the back, and broke the light shade and lamp from over the area so nobody can see you talking to them in your parking lot ministry. Why would you do that? What made you think that's going to turn out well for you? Under this apostolic mantle, please shut your mouth before Yahweh shuts it. Trust me, it don't go well. These are feasts. Even the fast is a feast. There are 7 that are done in 9 days. That is right here in Leviticus 23. Vetted in Devarim 19, Numbers 29. Any other place you want, we got 3 to 5 witnesses with ease. I can go on for days. Let's now move to the next piece that's very important because you're going into Yom Kippur. UK, I'm late. I'm coming. Y'all mad at me, UK? I'll be there in a minute. Y'all okay? I'm coming. I'm coming. Shabbat shalom to y'all in the UK. Not just the UK. Well, yeah, the UK, because I got told that London is the capital city of UK, but it's UK has other time regions, and I'm hoping we can get those time regions prepared. Y'all hear me over there in the UK? We good? Nobody from the UK is on today?
Yes, you're all good. You're all good.
All right. Where's my Minister Jackie? Where's she at? Pastor Jackie, you out there? All right. So listen, these are the feasts of Yahweh. Now pay attention. Do not tune off. Do not turn off. And this is for those of you who are going to get this taught in a different way, and you're going to understand this the right way. When in fact you come before the Father, he tells you to come before him and present him what he's asked for. When Yahweh says, present your body a living sacrifice, that's what he means. And you find that out in Leviticus 23. So in Leviticus 23, in a skim through, verse 4 said, these are the feasts that you shall proclaim. Verse 5 says, in the 14th day, that's 1. Verse 6 says, in the 15th day, that's 2. Then it says day 1 of that, and then day 7 of that are convocations. That's 3. Then you go down to verse number 7 says, in the first day you'll have a holy convocation. You do no work. You shall offer an offering made by fire for 7 days. And the 7th day, that's 3, is a holy convocation. You'll do no servile work. Verse 10 says, speak to the children of Israel when you come into the land which I've given you. Verse 11. Verse 10, I will give you and shall reap the harvest thereof and bring in the sheaf of the first fruits for your harvest of the priest. That's number 4. Verse 12 says, and you shall offer that day, that's the 4th day, when you shall wave the sheaf of the lamb. That's Hag Bikurim, right? You'll offer an offering of the first year by fire. Now, the question I'm hearing is that who said that Yahweh said that every person brings this? Because his word says so. Verse 14 says, you shall eat no bread nor parched corn. Verse 15, you shall count for you from that morrow after that Sabbath till the next day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. You're going to count 7 Sabbaths until they be complete. Verse 16, even the morrow after that Sabbath, you're going to number the 50th day, and you're going to offer, you, every one of you, every single solitary person, you're going to offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh. Verse 17, you, Mr. and Mrs. homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. harvester, farmyard owner, silo owner, you will bring it out of your habitations. Does that sound like everybody, or does that sound like just 2 people?
Sounds like everybody. Sounds like everybody. Sounds like everybody.
And it must have a quality to it. Fine flour baked with leavened bread, first fruits unto Yahweh. You shall offer the bread. Who's he talking to? The priest, or is he talking to Israel?
Israel.
And you shall offer the bread of 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 bullock and 2 rams. You shall, verse 18, you shall have for a burnt offering unto Yahweh, with their meat offering, with their drink offering, even with the offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahweh. And then you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats for the sin offering, right? And 2 lambs of the first year for the sacrifice of a peace offering, right? Well, now you don't have to bring the goat because Yeshua HaMashiach, the lamb, later on dies. Verse 20, oh, and the priest shall wave those with the bread of the first fruits for a wave offering before Yahweh with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy unto Yahweh for the priest. So that comes from every person. You bring it to the priest waves it because it's acceptable on your behalf before Yahweh, and then Yahweh feeds the priesthood who did not get an inheritance. They do not have a parcel of land. They only have the tabernacle to deal with. You shall proclaim on that self same day that it may be an holy convocation unto you, and you'll do no work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings in all of your generations. So this is going to be a statute. How long? This will be a statute until the Nicene Council develops a new Bible.
No, sir.
Does it change?
No.
Is it for Israel?
No.
It's for Israel. And Israel, you and I are Israel by faith. It is a commandment for humanity because Israel was used to show humanity how to be reconciled to the Father and be obedient to his call. So when he speaks to the children of Israel, he's not speaking to the Levites of Israel. Poor pastor, we had him just so close to understanding this stuff. And then he's listening to somebody says, well, somebody you introduced us to over there on one of those platforms. And I heard them saying this. I mean, so what is it? I'm coming, UK. What is it? Well, here is what it is. And I had to sit down with them and I'm like, I'm not going to say who the persons are, but I want you to understand, if you know me, come to me before you speak about anything I've taught you. Because you are damaging people. And I promise you, somehow Yahweh always gets it back to me to make sure that it does not get messed up. Don't speak in shadows, people, when you have a house that is well lit. Don't invite somebody to the porch and then cut the lights out on the porch. Bring them all the way in the house. Sit in the front room. Go sit at the kitchen table. Go into the den where the security system is on. The lights are on. You have access to the library. Don't sit out on the porch and in the bush and by the merry-go-round and under the gazebo at night with no lights, talking about this is how we do it. Bring them into the house. Those who built the house prepared this shelter for anyone to come in to feel and be safe. A gazebo without lights is not a house. It might work well in the daytime when everybody's got light. But come into the house where it's safe from predators, safe from burglars, safe from marauders, and make sure that they are understanding. And you have the parent, the patriarch, the matriarchs in the house who can maybe overhear the conversation and be proud of you as you telling it, like, go ahead, that's all right. I'm gonna stay over here, keep cooking my meal over here while you tell them what you've learned, because they're your peers, they're at your level, and you can share that with them. And if you need me, just talk. And sometimes I might just drop something in, but stop running around here trying to get likes. Preaching is not a calling. Likes don't get you to heaven. Matter of fact, if they like you, you might not be headed to heaven. Verse 23. Speak to the children of Israel. Who's he speaking to again? Is he specific about the month? He says in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you have a Sabbath. It's a memorial of the blowing of the shofar. Does that say a holy convocation? Is a convocation a feast?
Yes, it is.
Verse 26. Oh, does he say, verse 25, does he say, and you, Israeli people, shall do no work on that day? Y'all stop playing with Elohim. You want the blessings because you like the way it preaches, you like the way it hears, but you ain't willing to do what his word says to do. And that is to simply be off, not have your children at school, but honor him like a 7th-day Sabbath and not do any work. But you want to show up at church and scream and shout and hallelujah. Oh, that's deep revelation, but you don't want to comply. And then when you participate from the wallflower position rather than a pew participant, turning your whole world into a place where Yahweh can come in because you still feel you fear the people who are giving you employment, who Yahweh lets exist, and you don't want to take off from work that day because you fear what they're going to do. Don't play with Elohim. And the reason this is so important, because when you play with Elohim and you connect it to me, have you ever heard of the man? Not just me, I'm talking about me as a, and that came out wrong. But when you're connected to a ministry and you are saying that you're connected to a ministry, you're supposed to be in the vibe of that ministry. Do you realize that you become a crack in the hedge? You become a gaping in the hedge where any serpent can come in and bite and bring infection to what the hedge was keeping the serpents and keeping those predators and keeping those rodents out with. But you out there doing your own damnable thing. And then when it come running back inside, like nothing went wrong. But the way you left, you broke the hedge. The way you came back, you try to sneak back in the same way you snuck out. And now you've broken that hedge. We might not be aware that that hedge is broken until we do our monthly trip. But by then, in a month, so much can creep in through that hedge you broke. And now your whole place that you have been having as a compound, you have been having as a place to live, you have been having as a residence, has been compromised because you out there at the gazebo with JoJo in the dark. We told you not to do it. And why is he always coming at 10 o'clock at night? Why aren't you bringing him over for dinner when we're sitting at the table full spread and he can learn everything you know? Why you got to be the one that's got him held up, sitting on your chest, sitting on your lap, holding her hand, and you trying to teach them everything you don't even know yourself? Come back into the house. If you live here, live in here. If not, please go build your own. So verse number 27 tells us very clearly, look at this. Also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of at-one-ment. It shall be a holy convocation unto you. You shall afflict your souls. Does it say you got to afflict your souls?
Yes.
Y'all can talk to me. I'm going to listen. I am not going to tone down. I am not going to tone down. What's wrong is wrong, and it's got to be fixed. However many, whoever they are, I'm never going to expose you. I'm never going to put your name on blast, but understand heaven got you in sight. Trust me, Yahweh don't play about me. Trust me, Yahweh don't play about me because he knows I'm serious about his word. And when you got my name in your mouth in a back channel in some dark corner, and you say you connected to me and tell everybody else you connect to me, and you teach in contrary to what we teach, and any of you going into these spaces where you can clearly hear, well, Apostle didn't say that. Well, let me check that out in the writ. And you don't do it, but you get caught up in the intellectual conversation. Well, let's just look at this for a minute. You're going to hurt yourself. Please don't ask my neighbor. Come directly to me. I'm going to take you right where I'm taking you now. Am I giving y'all commentary?
No, sir.
Verse 28 says, you'll do no work in that self same day. It's the day of atonement. Look at verse number 27. You shall in the 10th day of the 7th month. It is the day of at-one-ment. It is the day of the holy convocation. Does holy convocation mean a fast, a feast, y'all?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
It does, right? It means you will meet publicly, all of you, because I'm calling this thing out. I want you all here for rehearsal. Bring the whole assembly. It's a convocation, and I want y'all reading my word in that day. You shall afflict your soul, meaning you're not going to eat that day. You're going to check yourself according to the word. And let it not hide your actions and proclivities of your flesh from yourself. Because y'all know we do stuff ourselves that we really like, man, why'd I do that? The word of Elohim has a way of checking you and showing you, yo, that's not what Elohim wants you to do. Don't hide your flesh from yourself. Verse 28, you shall do no work in that day. Pardon me. Verse 27, part B, you shall afflict your soul and you'll offer an offering made by fire. Is that all of Israel?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, it is. Yes.
I'm gonna ask again: is he talking to everybody in Israel, or is he just talking to the high priest? So everyone must come with their offering made by fire. Now let me put this on blast so y'all can get this straight. And yes, I'm gonna put it right here real clear, and I'm good with it. Just because you didn't prepare and the time is coming that you now might feel embarrassed, or maybe you might feel that, okay, I can't do it this way or I can't do it that way. Do not second guess Elohim because you didn't prepare. That's tantamount to 5 of the foolish virgins. The 10 virgins who were prepared, it don't mean it wasn't difficult for them to prepare, but they did prepare. So when the time came, they was ready to go. And now you want to be one of the 5 foolish because you didn't prepare, which there's no condemnation by the people you with. That the other 5 virgins didn't condemn the 5 fools. They just said you should have been ready. You knew. I thought you was dressed. I thought you was. If you had asked me before today, I would have gladly went to the store with you. We could have went to the mall and got more wick and got you more oil. But you ain't say nothing. But we was hanging together. We was partying together. We was talking together. We was synagoguing together. But you ain't tell me you wasn't ready. So I'm not going to judge you because it could have been me. But don't you go back and then tell people, I don't know why we got to have oil in our lamps and our wicks burnt. And what does everybody got to come with a lamp? Yes, everybody got to come with a lamb. Every person who claims the name of Yeshua HaMashiach under Torah observancy to the writ of Elohim, under these instructions that you are reading with your own eyes, yeah, that's you. Or is not. And if it's not, go see the Wizard of Oz. Move on down the road. Oz don't live here. Verse number 28. You shall not do any work in that day. It is the day of at-one-ment. It is the day of atonement, to make atonement for you based on what you found out about yourself before Yahweh, who is your Elohim, for whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall cut off from among his people. Wait a minute. If it says for whatsoever soul, does that mean that's everybody and anybody can get it?
Everybody can get it. Yes. Yes.
I don't know if y'all still cook. I think y'all went and did some laundry. Wait a minute. Does that mean that for whatsoever, verse 29, look at what it says here. Look at verse 29. Look at it on look at it on the screen. For whatsoever soul, does that sound plural or does that sound singular? Yeah. It's whatever, plural, soul, singular. So everybody is accountable for compliance. Whatever soul it is that does not afflict themselves in that day of my instruction, well, that person shall be cut off from among his people and the blessing plan associated with that season. Oops. Verse 30, 29. Look at this passage now. Verse 30, and whatsoever soul it be that does any work on that same day. What? That soul will I destroy from among his people. Is this Yahweh speaking? Because it was Yahweh in verse 1. Is it Yahweh in verse 31 speaking?
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
So is he clear about the practicalities of the functionality here? So verse 31 says, on the day that I've told you to treat and proclaim as a holy day, do not go to work. Do not do what you want to do. Verse 31 says, and you shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute until the Nicene Council rewrites the Bible.
It should be forever.
Until Jesus comes and dies on the cross, not is it or through your generations? And you're only going to do this in your car or your grandmom's house.
that you forever throughout generations in your dwelling.
In your dwelling. So you got to be accountable to Elohim for your actions, just like I got to be for mine. Don't you dare go around and tell people, well, I wonder if we really supposed to do that. Does it say everybody does this? Does it say we're supposed to do that right now? Well, I know that Israel has been destroyed and the temple is no longer standing. Did he say you do it in the temple, or did he say you do it in your dwellings? Did he say you do it in your generations in perpetuity, or does he say you do it until Yeshua dies? Does he say you continue to do this until Moshe dies? No. Either Elohim is or he is not. And if he is not, please get off my block. And keep my name out your mouth. When it comes to this, people respect me globally for what we teach. You using my name to get likes, and so people can say, oh, well, you listen to Apostle. Let me hear what you got to say. Shut your mouth and take my name off your banister. This is the only word I know. This is the only thing I got for you. If you can't teach this and won't ask how to be taught it, do not go fumbling around in the dark when you have a full-blown house of lights that you have absolute access to. You can sleep there, you can brush your teeth there, you can eat there, you can get upset there, you can have a celebration there, you can do your birthday party there. The place is yours. Come in. Stop lingering outside in the dark, in the booth, in the back without the lamps on. And it's free. No charge. You might have to clean up the dish you ate out of, but there's no charge. Look at the writ. Verse 34, Leviticus 23. Yahweh then spoke unto Moshe and said, to do what? Speak to the children of Israel. Wait a minute, let me give you verse number 31 because I don't think I finished it. Verse 31 says, you shall do no manner of work in the Yom Kippur. It'll be a statute forever throughout your generations and all of your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. You shall afflict your soul. Did he say you might want to think about?
He said shall.
So afflicting your soul means you're not going to eat anything on that day, Mr. and Mrs. Public. In the 9th day at sundown, from even to even, shall you celebrate your Shabbat. Now, what do y'all think if it's a fast? What do you think he means by celebrating? Because ain't going to be no food. Ain't no wine that day. There's no bagels. There's no lamb. What do you mean celebrate? Because the fast is a spiritual feast, people. Yahweh himself is bringing down meat you know not of, but you so worried about your bad breath and your growling stomach and the fact that you didn't have a hamburger or a cheeseburger. I can't even read the word. Oh God, let me at least get a tic tac. I can't read the word. Oh, my stomach is grumbling. So your God is your belly. Your belly is your God. And the word of God created your belly. You mean to tell me you can't let him come and fill you with meat you know not of in the natural, but it will affect you with the meat you eat naturally later? Everything about Elohim is for your good. The fast is a spiritual feast and smorgasbord you have no idea will impact you and give you nutritional value down the road before you even understand that there have been entrapments based and camped all around you. Y'all stop playing with Elohim. Bring him what he wants. He wants you. He wants you quiet. He wants you sat down with him. He wants you in his word, out of your head. Stop thinking, accept it be for the elements that you and I are dealing with in Yamin Norim. Know to check yourself. I still do this. I still act like this. I'm still petty. I still gossip. I still stab in the back. I still walk like I'm everything. I'm still conceited. I'm still arrogant. Yahweh, please shut down my mind. Show me this stuff so I can get, how do I cleanse myself of it? Now are you cleansed by the washing of the water, which is the word of Elohim, which is what you're feasting on in the fast day. That's every one of you. Deuteronomy 16:16, come. Somebody say, I'm celebrating my fast. Come on, y'all. I want everybody talking. If you're a moderator on this platform, you better be the first ones jumping and saying amen. If not, get off my platform and don't mod again. Devarim 16:16. Pay attention, y'all. Devarim 16:16 is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16. Listen to what it says. Observe the month of Abib. Now look up here on the screen. Look at me on the screen on this right here. The month of Abib is now known as the month of Nisan. It is the time when you have Pesach. So he says, observe the month of Abib, i.e. Nisan, i.e. Pesach, and keep the Pesach. For in the month of Abib, Yahweh your Elohim brought you forth out of your bondage. You and I have that as a stereotypic and a element of typical type of deliverance. And that is metaphorical in some sense, but it is extremely literal in another sense, because this represents you coming out of your sin. The blood was shed here, and Yahweh passed over your sin and didn't give you judgment of death. Okay, verse number 2. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Pesach unto Yahweh. So Moshe is talking to all of Israel here in verse 1. Observe the month of Abib. Let me put it on the screen so y'all can see it. Look at this. Observe the month of Abib. Somebody say Nisan. Somebody say observe the feast of Pesach. Say it. Observe the feast of Pesach. It's a feast, right? Yes, it is. Now watch this. He says, observe the feast, keep the feast of Pesach unto Yahweh, who is your Elohim. And you'll do this in the first month, in the month of Abib. Yahweh, therefore, your Elohim, he brought you out of the land of Egypt. Devarim 16:2. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Pesach unto Yahweh, your Elohim, of the flock and the herd in the place which Yahweh shall choose to put his name on. Say, that's everybody.
That's everybody.
So verse 3 says, you shall eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, even the bread of affliction, when you came out of Egypt, when you did that in haste. Now remember the day. Verse 4, there shall be no leavened bread seen within all your coasts. Oh, I can do that. I like baking the unleavened bread. It's new. No, it's a commandment. This ain't no game. There shall be no leavened bread with you in all of your coasts for 7 days. Neither shall there be anything of the flesh which you have sacrificed that first day at even, remaining until the night or until the morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of your gates, which Yahweh has given you, only where I've told you to put it, and do it. Verse 6, but at the place which Yahweh shall choose, that's the place where his name will be. Thou shalt sacrifice the Pesach at even, at the going down of the sun, the season, at the season that you came forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast it, roast and eat it in the place which Yahweh shall choose. You shall turn in the morning and go unto your tent. 6 days, 6 days shall you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day it shall be a solemn assembly. A solemn assembly is a Kodesh Mikra, y'all. So we're still talking about a feast, aren't we? Yes. Verse 9, 7 weeks now, we're in a different feast now. 7 weeks shall you number unto you, beginning on the number of the 7 weeks. At such time, you shall begin to put the sickle into the corn. That is the time that was known as the actual first fruits harvest. Now, when you do the first fruits, you got to count 7 weeks. From 7 weeks, you then add a day. Verse 10 says, you shall keep that feast of weeks unto Yahweh your Elohim with a tribute of a freewill offering of your hand, which thou shalt give unto Yahweh according as Yahweh has blessed you. So this is for everybody. Say the feast offerings are for every person.
The feast offering for every person.
Thou shalt rejoice before Yahweh, who is your Elohim. Listen to what he says. If you didn't think it was, he tells you very clearly, thou shalt rejoice before Yahweh, who is your Elohim. Look at what it says. Look at what it has. You and your son and your daughter. And if you got a servant, your manservant. If you got a maidservant, your maidservant. If you got a priest who lives next door to you, get the Levite up in there too. Oh, and anybody passing by for the weekend while y'all shut down for business during the Sabbath, any stranger within your gates, any of the fatherless who don't have a dad, any of the widows who don't have a husband that are among you, be there in the place, gather together for this solemn assembly in the place that I've chosen to put my name, because that's where I'm going to bless y'all, every one of y'all. Each of you bring what is required to be brought. That's what Yahweh is saying. Verse 12, thou shalt remember that you were a bondman in Egypt, and you have observed to do these statutes. You shall observe the feast, not the festival, the feast of tabernacles. You're going to do that for 7 days. After that, you've gathered in the corn and the wine that I sent you. You shall rejoice in your feast. You and your son and your daughter and your manservant and your maidservant and your Levite, the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow that are within your gates. Now, some people will try to be intellectual with this, and I've had the conversation with some rabbis who I'm so grateful for, rabbis who understand their own language, when they brought out the reality that though you might not see Yom Teruah brought out as a feast, it is a feast because he said so in Leviticus 23. The issue is that feast works differently. Now, the issue is you blow the shofar and then you celebrate, because anytime you do a Kodesh Mikra, you are coming together for a feast. This particular feast of Yom Kippur, you don't bring food. He brings the food. Verse 15, 7 days shall you do a solemn feast unto Yahweh in the place that he shall choose. Elohim shall bless you when you do this. He gonna bless all your increase. He gonna bless all the work of your hands. And because of that, you're going to be able to be re-strengthened. Because what you exasperated in getting this harvest and gleaning this harvest to bring it before me to show you how I blessed you, I'm going to bless the work of your hands to increase this and restore this to you. Verse 16 says, 3 times in a year shall all my males appear before Yahweh your Elohim in the place he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread and in the feast of weeks and in the feast of tabernacles. Somebody say 3 feast seasons. Let me be very clear to y'all. I'm going to read verse 16 again, because y'all keep thinking that this is not something that everybody's supposed to do. 3 times in a year, O Israel, moderators, 3 times in a year, O Israel, your males shall appear before Yahweh, your Elohim, in the place he chose for these 3 feast seasons. Look at part B. He says, for the feast of bread, unleavened bread, the feast of weeks, verse 16, part B, and the feast of tabernacles. We're about to go into that because that's connected to Yom Kippur, Yom Teruah, the feast of Sukkah. Now watch this. Those males, all of Israel, shall not appear before Yahweh empty. Somebody read the first 2 words of verse 17 for me, please. Everybody come off mic on the count of 3 and tell me what that says. 1, 2, 3. Stop right there. Y'all taking too long. Y'all dragging it out. I want y'all to do it together. Catch my energy, catch my speed. On the count of 3, say it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Every man. Does it say 1 or 2 men? Does it say only the priests? Every man shall give as he's able, according to the blessings of Yahweh or Elohim. That's how you're going to give, which he has given you. That's why he said, I gave you the former rain moderately. Now, what you did with it is on you, but I gave it to you to bring it. Oops. I gave it to you to bring it. Now, what you did with it, because you got it 4 months before you needed to bring it to me, that's on you. You have to be responsible. That's why he says you must be good stewards over what Yahweh blesses you with. Because when you take the seed I give you to sow in the season I tell you, then I become the Lord of your harvest. And if you do what I said do, and don't get caught up in what you want to see accomplished, I promise you, you will be able to lend to nations not long from now. But if you are not going to comply with what his instructions say, if you're not going to be off work, if you're expecting your business to prosper, and this is the way he prospers your business, by you not doing business on his day, he's putting business of the kingdom in you, then your business that you think is your God is going to fall to the hands of a great and dynamic God who don't need your business to make him great. Your business prospers when you honor Elohim. He's going to give you witty inventions. He's going to make your business prosper. He's going to take your income streams, make them voluminous, and make them flow in perpetuity. This is where we don't understand it, because we are from Missouri, and you ain't even born in Missouri, half of y'all, but you got to see Yahweh. You got to show me this. He just did. His word has shown you the sun. His word has shown you the moon. His word has shown you the ebb and the flow of the oceans. His word has shown you the fir tree. His word has shown you the sycamore tree. His word has shown you your eyeballs. He ain't got to show you nothing else. He's already done it. He just needs you to comply with the word he gave you. You worried about going to work and pissing off HR. It's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of a mighty God who gave you everything, taught you everything. Now you want to question him, second guess him? Oh, well, God knows my heart. He does. He told y'all in books of some of the other prophets, your heart is desperately wicked. Oh, and it's evil. Yeah, I know your heart. But have you given me your heart? Don't come playing with him. Ooh, that's revelation. Oh, that's deep, man of God. Yeah. Look. I don't think, that based on my theological understanding and based on the rabbis I train with ecumenically, they say we don't have to do that no more, Well, because I'm studying with some Messianic Jews. I'm studying with these people. I'm studying over here at this church, and they talking like you talk. They call it Yahweh, and they saying Elohim. Let me tell y'all something. This ain't that. This ministry, look on the screen, is that. It is the word. Whatever that word tells us in proper context, with the content, vetted by 2 or 3 other witnesses or more, that is what Elohim's word says. And when he says to do something forever, I pinched myself no, I didn't. I'm going to do it now. I just pinched myself. I'm still alive. The earth still remains. There'll always be seed time and harvest. We are still in forever. Forever hasn't ended yet. You want to play with this and try to be deep and think you so whatever. Oh, God, he don't really need that. He don't really want that. And why everybody got to come? That's why we are in the poor condition we're in, because we do not do what his word says to do. And his word, this cycle of seasons from Sukkah to Pesach to Shavuot back to Sukkah, is the prosperity plan of Elohim. It does not mean you're going to get cars, yachts, and airplanes. You could, but it means that you have produced a commonwealth in the earth he made the way he designed it in the beginning, before Adam fell from sin. The Sukkah redeems us from Adam's sin, puts us back in the position to have dominion, and then demonstrates our dominion in Sukkah. Let me repeat. Pesach cleanses you from Adam's sin. Shavuot puts you back in dominion again. again. And Sukkah demonstrates the dominion that Yahweh says, come, let me show you how I blessed you. And if you bring it all to me and just trust me with it, let me show you how to invest it. I'll make sure that I'm the Lord of your harvest. And I'll make sure that the cankerworm and the palmer worm and the caterpillar does not eat it again. As long as you rend your heart, not your garment, you come back before me and meet me in the days I've asked for, I promise you prosperity will be at your door forever. Can I get a shalom from somebody today?
Hallelujah.
If you are a part of DKM or VWJ Ministries at any point, you hear anybody teaching contrary to the fact that every man does not bring their offering because you twisted about how the church has played the fool and played the games and shenanigans about money. This ain't about your little bit of money. This is about the extreme need to provide in your world, and Yahweh provides. We call him Yahweh Yireh, but he operates on an if-then concept. You comply with him, he supplies for you. End of discussion. He don't want you at work, sit your behind home. He wants you to bring a lamb. I only got 2 lambs. Get the 1 lamb. He's going to give that lamb back to you in droves. There'll be litter after litter after litter if you give him the lamb. But I only got 1 lamb. And he won a bull. That bull got to get us through. Clarice bull on the last leg. Look, his steer and his whole steer. Half the thing done fell off. His tail is wagging. He got flies. I can't give Yahweh what he wants so he can get you what you need. Stop playing with your church mindset that says, oh, that's deep to teach. That's deep to preach. No, we don't teach and preach this. We live this. Stop coming in here for preaching points. Come in here for reaching points. Make that a quote. Don't come in here to get teaching points so you can go back and seem deep on other platforms. You come in here for reaching points. Let me help you with that so it connects rightly. We are now pressing forth towards the mark of the prize. Reach towards the prize of the higher calling, which is in Yeshua HaMashiach. Well, what was in Yeshua HaMashiach? Somebody say Adonai. Shout it. 1, 2, 3. Say Adonai. So when Paul says, I press towards the mark of the prize of the higher calling, which is in Yeshua HaMashiach, he's talking about what was in Yeshua was the word. And the word made everything we know. The word was in the beginning with Elohim. Why? Because the word was Elohim. And then the word became flesh. So what was in the flesh was the word. Paul then says, I am crucified in Messiah. Nevertheless, I'm alive. Yet it's not me anymore, but it's the word that lives in me. And the word has given for me himself to open up everything I'm ever going to need. This is what Paul says. I press now towards the mark of the prize of the higher calling, which is in Yeshua HaMashiach. I want y'all to get that because I don't want you to say it wrong another day. Every feast is for you. You might not like it. It might be inconvenient, but I promise you, if you can find your way to comply with him, no matter how hard it seems, the present sufferings that you're going through to comply with him are nothing to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in us if we obey him. So when Elohim says, do this, do that, don't go there, don't go here, bring me this, bring me that, do it now on this day in this order. When you do that, do you understand? Elohim says, after you have done the will of Elohim, after you have done what I've asked you, after you're going to have need of patience. But I promise you, that which will come shall come, and it will not tarry. But you're never going to know that if you don't do the compliance and you second guessing the compliance. Because you may say amen to these teachings, You may say amen to everything we just showed you from the word. But if you're not going to comply with it, if you're not going to use it, then you are technically in that degree a double-minded person. And let not that man, that woman receive anything from Elohim because you second guessing whether you should. In DKM Ministries, all of its citizenship, VWJ Ministries, and the churches we cover, we live this. We don't make it talking points. We make it goal-reaching points. Let me help you. Can I teach you just a couple more minutes? UK, can I take a few more minutes before I come to help y'all with y'all? Let me help y'all with this. Look at this next piece. Let's go to Numbers chapter 29. Now, I'm telling y'all, let me give y'all forewarning. This is going to scare so many of you, which is why I teach the way that I teach to you, so you know whatever I share with you is writ-oriented and proven. But there are some things, if I tell you, it will scare you and you will sit there and freak out. So I have to take my time getting it to you. And more importantly, I have to hope, because you fell in love with the word we keep introducing to you, you go traveling through the word yourself, by yourself one day, and then come across it and be like, oh, hey, teacher, I read this. What's that mean? See, until you do that, I'm not going to just give that out to you, because you need to go see it for yourself and then come back and ask about it. And only then does this become a part of your lifestyle. And now you desire to reach for that point, press to that mark. This, forewarning you, is going to scare you. Numbers chapter number 29. Now, in Numbers chapter number 29, it tells you what you should be bringing Yahweh. This is for those who were born into this lifestyle, who from age 3 have been preparing to do all these things. Now, those of us who have now been adopted into the family, it can be daunting for the family. But if you pay attention, it'll bless your family immensely. Numbers chapter 29. I'm only going to read a few verses, but I want to make sure y'all understand this. Say this with me. Get ready to get off your microphones. Say this with me. Get ready to get off your microphones. Say this with me. Get ready to get off your microphones. Say, the convocations are feasts. Don't you let one single solitary soul, pastor, bishop, apostle, prophet, rabbi, rabbinical, whatever, anybody tell you differently. You just read it yourself. And you read it in the definitions for the Hebrew words of the biblical time. You cannot unread that. The fast is a feast. Numbers 29. Just so we can have clarity. And in the 7th month, somebody tell me what month we in right now?
The 7th month.
And for those of y'all who follow in this ridiculous phrase and fad in Christendom right now about the 9th month of September and the number 9 dealing with September, please don't associate my name to your platform. Yahweh doesn't honor the month of September. Yahweh honors the month of Tishri. He didn't name any of his months September. They are not the 9th month. It is the 7th month. I'll talk about that another day. In the 7th month, look at what he says. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, somebody say Yom Teruah. It is a holy convocation. I didn't make this up. I'm not making this up. This ain't my book. This is his book. You shall do no servile work in that day. There shall be a day of the blowing of the trumpets. Let me put it back on the screen so y'all can see it. Look at it again. Verse 1, it's on the screen. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall have a holy convocation, a feast, a moedim. You shall do no work in that day. It is a day of the blowing of the trumpets. Now, a moedim and a mikra is a moedim, right? It is a place where we assemble, but it is a feast day, right? So you're going to be blowing the trumpet in that day. Verse 2, you're going to offer, all of you, every person is going to offer an offering made of a sweet savor unto Yahweh. 1 young bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without blemish. Well, Apostle, you only told us to bring a lamb, because if I told you to bring all of it, you'd lose your mind. Verse 2, you shall also offer a burnt offering of sweet savor unto Yahweh, 1 bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without blemish. And their meat offering shall be flour mingled with oil, 3/10 deals of bullock, and 2/10 deals of a ram, and 1/10 deal for each lamb throughout the 7 lambs you bring. What? Oh, I know you're not prepared for it. That's why I didn't bring it to bear on you. But you must come before him not empty. So just bring your lamb, because I know you can handle it. Verse 5, 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering. Do we give a sin offering anymore, people?
No.
Who paid the sin offering? Who paid the sin offering? Verse number 6 says, beside the burnt offering of the month, and his meat offering, and his daily burnt offering, and his meat offering, and their drink offerings, according to their manner, for a sweet savor, a sacrifice made by fire unto Yahweh. Now, some of these in Numbers 28 are what the Levites render for the sake of the tabernacle or the temple remaining in compliance with Elohim. Not all of these are for the people, but let me break it down for you what is for the people. Verse 7, you shall have on the 10th day, what day? What's that day called in Hebrew? Yom Kippur. The 10th day of the 7th month, verse 7, look at it. On the 10th day of the 7th month, there's a holy convocation. Do you go to work when it's a holy convocation?
No.
Do you bring Yahweh a sacrifice and your body on the 10th day?
Yes.
So you shall, verse 7, on the 10th day of the 7th month, everybody or just the priest? So he says, you shall on the 10th day of the 7th month have a holy convocation. That's a feast, a moedim. You shall afflict your souls. You shall not do any work therein, but you shall offer a burnt offering unto Yahweh. So the priests, they don't go to work, right? So if he's saying that this is the deal with the fact of whether he's talking to everybody. So if you look at verse, let me reduce my screen so y'all can see my face and not get offended, because I'm going to be very direct with some of you very closely. It's very important. When he says in this passage here, you shall not go to work, is he talking about the priest?
No.
Because actually that's when the priests do work. So if the priest got to work to take your sacrifice in, who doesn't go to work? Oh, the nation doesn't go to work, but the Levites have to, because the Levites did not get an inheritance in the national plot giving. They got the tabernacle, all things Elohim. So when Yahweh says, nation, don't go to work, bring your sacrifice to the tabernacle, there are, listen to me clearly, close to 635 Levites in tabernacle service. They move on their shifts. Well, how can all those sacrifices? One brother said, Doc, how them all? You can't do all that. I said, yes, they can. When they came out of Egypt, dear heart, whether y'all like it or not, there was 3.2 million people. I have had every argument, every debate on how many people left that place. Many were children, many were mixed multitude, but Levi, if you do the counting and do the actual chronology and do the genealogy that you find in the Torah, in Levi, when they came out, it was at 635,000 Levites.
Wow.
Don't let people who don't know the culture of the tabernacle, because they stuck on Christian stupiddom, make you think that the culture of the tabernacle is predicated on what Christians think. Look at what his word says. Verse 7, the 10th day on the 7th month, a holy convocation afflict your soul. Verse 8, but you shall offer an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahweh. It'll be 1 young bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs for the first year. They shall be unto you. That means be unto you. They shall be unto you. That means they shall come from you. They shall come from your storehouse unblemished. And if you've been rocking with Yahweh since you got out of Egypt, watch, look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen. If you've been rocking with Yahweh since you came out of Egypt, and I'm reminding you of that, and you've been doing Sukkah, you've been doing Pesach, you've been doing Shavuot, you've been concluding with Sukkah every year. If you're finishing this cycle, you got this in your backyard. Because this is your prosperity plan. If Yahweh asks you for something, he's going to provide it for you. Now, if you're not doing this, oh well, don't know what to tell you. But you shall offer an offering, verse 8, of sweet savor, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year. And verse 9 says, you're going to give them their meat offering shall be a flour mingled with oil, 3/10 deals to a bullock, and 2/10 deals to 1 ram. Verse 10, a several tenth deal for 1 lamb throughout the 7 lambs you should give. Remember, verse 11, we don't do because Yeshua is the sin offering. 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering beside the sin offering of the atonement. What? You don't give the atonements anymore. You don't give the sin offering for sin. You don't do that. And this shall be a continual burning offering of the meat offering of it and their drink offering. So for those of you who don't understand how the process of the tabernacle and the Levites and the Kohanim work, these are excellent butchers. They know how to cut the parts that's supposed to be cut. The people come down to the sanctuary. They come down to the tabernacle. They give their actual sacrifice to the priests alive. The priests in their shifts, go after what they brought. They then begin to kill it before it gets to the altar, and the burning has to be in such a way. That's why Levites are prepared. There are Levites who deal with the fire. There are Levites who deal with the labor. There are Levites who deal with the cutting of the lamb, cutting of the goat, cutting of the bull, cutting of the ram. They are Levites who know which pertinents come out, what goes in the flesh pot. They work in shifts. Those Levites are immaculate in their efficacy for getting the temple and tabernacle work done. Do not doubt them ever. Let me take y'all to one last place. Are y'all learning something here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amen. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, let me take y'all somewhere else, because people just keep running off with thinking they understand stuff. But you got to follow the writ. Let the writ do the talking for you. Look at this now. I'm going to take y'all somewhere that's called the Tanakh. Now, the Tanakh references what is good. So there's two places you can go whenever you're talking about Torah. One of them is any story about David, because he follows Torah immensely. Any also with Solomon. Now, watch this, especially for this season. Say we're in the season of Sukkah. Say it. Join me at 2 Chronicles chapter number 7. Join me at 2 Chronicles chapter number 7. UK, y'all okay? I know I'm supposed to be with y'all right now. We're going to blow the shofar shortly, but UK, that's the UK. Now, when I go to the UK and we get off this broadcast, I got a very interesting and busy day as your priest, as your person who is responsible for teaching you all things tabernacle, all things Yahweh's Torah. I must go and help them that are in that land. Do not, if you are not in the time zones, do not come into those rooms on Clubhouse until we come back here at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you're at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, if you're here in America, and if you are from Vietnam, you're from UK, you're from China, you're from Uganda, you're from Africa, whatever in Africa, Mali, Sri Lanka, you can come in if your sundown has already happened, okay? But if your sundown has not happened, don't be found in those rooms. And West Coast, don't be in the East Coast room. We're gonna come back and I'll save stuff for y'all on the West Coast to make sure that this whole message spans the whole day and y'all get every point. But this is gonna help y'all as we prepare for what we call Yom Kippur. Now, look closely at 2 Chronicles chapter number 7. Are y'all there? If you're there, say Sukkah. Am I talking too fast?
No.
Pay attention and watch this closely. In 2 Chronicles chapter number 1, when Solomon had made an end of praying, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of Yahweh filled the house, and the priests could not enter into the house. It's not the UK I'm trying to get to. UK is at 3:30. Oh my goodness. South Africa and Uganda. I'm coming, y'all. Just give me a minute to break this down. I promise you. I said UK, but I meant South Africa and Uganda. And I'm trying not to run into Ghana's time either. But watch this in verse number 1. Now, when Solomon had made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of Yahweh filled the house. The priests could not enter into the house of Yahweh because of the glory that had filled Yahweh's house. Do y'all know this is the season of Sukkah that Solomon dedicated the temple that replaced the tabernacle?
No.
Yes.
Let me say it again. I'm gonna come up. Let me say it again. 2 Chronicles chapter number 7 is the dedication of the temple which Yahweh gave David permission to build, that did away with the tabernacle building. So they folded the tabernacle up, and now the building of the temple is complete, and they completed it in Sukkah. They are dedicating the temple in the season of Sukkah. Know the time. Now pay attention so you understand something greater. People are talking about there's no way they could have brought all those sacrifices down. I'm so disheartened by some of the foolishness we talk without learning. Solomon says, now when Solomon had made an end of praying, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of Yahweh filled the house. Verse 2. And the priests, look at this, verse 2, look at this, verse 2. And the priests could not enter into the house because the glory of Yahweh or Elohim filled his house. Verse 3. And when all the children, somebody say all the children. When all the children of Israel saw how the fire came down and the glory of Yahweh that was upon that house, they bowed, they all bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement and worshiped. Do y'all think this is in a Kodesh Mikra? Yes. And they worshiped and praised Yahweh, saying, for he is good and his mercy endures forever. Well, when do we see his mercy really examining us? Oh, yeah, Sukkah, right. Verse 4. Then the king and all the people. Wait a minute, let me read it again. Verse 4. Y'all read with me if I'm wrong. And then the king and 8 of the people.
All the people.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me get it right. Then the king and the management team and the city managers.
No, all the people.
Okay, let me get it right. Okay, y'all. I know my glasses need to be fogged. I got a fingerprint on my glasses, but let me see if I got it right. Then the king and the Sanhedrin offered sacrifice.
All the people.
Offered sacrifice before Yahweh your Elohim. Look at verse 5. And King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 ox. He also then offered 120,000 sheep. Are y'all paying attention? Talk to me. I need to know. I want to make sure everybody's getting this. Don't be. I don't want y'all ironing. I want y'all to be prepared for this. Verse 5 says, so Solomon offered 22,000 ox, 120,000 sheep, so that the king and all the people dedicated the house of Yahweh. Look at verse 6. Y'all never read this, but you're going to learn it today. And the priests, plural, waited on their offices. And the priests waited on their offices. And the priests waited on their offices. What's that mean? Because there is a system in the Levitical order, there's a system in the priesthood, that when the time for the sacrifices that are year by year, 3 times in a year, 9 particular days of the year, and then the stuff that they do during the regular year when they bring their tithing, you have a priest, they have a system, they have a staggered system, so the priests come and learn. Now, if y'all don't believe me about the Levites having a priest system, then you don't understand John the Baptist and who his daddy was and what happened on the day that he was conceived and what happened to his father who was a Levite. So there is a system that the priests come in on a schedule during certain seasons. And then in days like the Moedim, the priests also schedule certain families for the reading of the writ inside of the temple, i.e. tabernacle, prior to Solomon. So when you come into Sukkah, the priests, hundreds of thousands of priests, let me say it again, hundreds of thousands of priests are responsible for that little bitty, itty bitty place called the temple. So when it says in verse number 6, people, don't be ignorant of culture. The priests waited on their office. That means that the priests were in line waiting for King Solomon and all the people with their sacrifices, because they knew how to use their swords, use their daggers, use their butcher blocks, use their cutlery, their weapons of dismemberment for the butchering of these animals and putting them in the flesh pots and putting them on the altar in order. Solomon built a much bigger altar than there was originally in the tabernacle. But these people were efficient. So the priests, when it says they waited on their office, they were all standing in order and in line, waiting to receive the next giver of sacrifice. And then they take that sacrifice, cut it up, and somebody, there is a set waiting to keep the actual altar fire hot. I mean fire hot, that when that stuff goes on there, the blood that's drained off can still be consumed. There is a system, people. The Levites know exactly what they're doing. That's why I have such a disdain when people say you propagate Torah and you don't understand the order of Elohim. Sit your butt down. You're not ready. The Levites waited on their offices. Some Levites, look at verse 6. Some Levites grabbed their instruments of music unto Yahweh, which David had made. Moreover, watch verse 7. Look at verse 7. I'll open this up to y'all. Look at this. Look at verse 7. Pay attention. Don't go get water. Listen. And the priests waited on their offices. Somebody said the priests waited for their turn. So if there is over 1 million people outside bringing bulls and goats and rams, they are in line outside. The priests are in line inside. And when they meet at the gate, The priests take it from the actual comer thereunto, and then they have a system. They done cut this thing up, bled it out and everything, and then they got it to throw it on the altar because there is a group preparing the altar, keeping the altar's wood right, keeping the altar's position right, keeping the altar's stones right, keeping the fire on there where it needs to be. Some are putting on the incense, some are putting on the wood, some are stoking the flame, some are putting on the meat, some are putting on the meat. Does this make sense to y'all now?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yep.
Because Christian dumb, D-U-M-B, Christian technical, Christian dumb about these elements of culture will tell you, oh, see, the Levites waited on their office. Y'all need to wait for God to use you. That ain't what that means. The priests were waiting to do what they had to do per the sacrifices of the people. It's in system. As a manager, I understand staggered systems. I understand logistics. I understand warehousing. You have to be able to move effectively in a small space with a lot of people and never knock each other over. And they waited. They did not move until their turn, their time came. They waited for the next priest to go and get that sacrifice. And if they had to help with that one because it was a big bull, or outrageous bull, a crazy goat, a crazy ox, whatever it may have been, they worked and they waited for their time to serve. And then they moved effectively. They moved consciously. They moved intelligently. They moved systematically towards getting that thing accomplished so they could dead any issues that could arise and get quickly over to the altar and get the sacrifices done, send the people on their way because they only had a small space to work. They got millions of people outside and hundreds of thousands of people inside. If you don't know that, stop preaching. Yes, I'm righteously indignant. Look at what he says in verse 6. The priests waited on their office. The Levites also with them used their instruments of music. Verse 7. Moreover, Solomon, listen, hallowed the middle of the court. That was before the house of Yahweh. I'm going to read it again because y'all didn't catch it yet. Moreover, King Solomon, once he was done building his house, building the tabernacle, the temple, moreover, he hallowed the middle of the court that was in front of the house of Yahweh. Do y'all think this is abnormal? Yes, it is. Because Solomon, when he Kadesh, he hallowed it. That means he kept it, he prepared it, he made it pure, he dedicated the space, meaning he told them to back up so far. He said the middle of the court in front of the house of Elohim, which had a court inside of it. Let me help y'all with this so y'all can understand how this system works. The middle of the court is the outside of where the temple is. You come and you gather on the outside, which used to be a curtain for the tabernacle, now is a building, a space, a wall for the temple. And they were usually there. You could gather, you could do what you needed to do, call it the foyer if you wanted. But then there was on the other side of the house of Elohim, a place called the congregation of the saints. And in the congregation of the saints, there was a lot of gathering because you brought in as a saint, as a citizen, you brought into that space and you gave your sacrifice to the priests. They took it, they killed it, they cut it, they put it on the altar. You walked away, no blood. That's why we call it ministry, because the priests serve you. They get dirty for you. When you bring your sacrifice, a free will offering, moedim, or sin offering, they are the ones who kill the offering on your behalf. That's why we call it ministry. They serve you. You don't put the animal on the altar. The priesthood does. Somebody say Elohim's the God of order.
Elohim is the God of order.
Verse number 7. Solomon hallowed the middle of the court that was in front of the house of Elohim. For there he was able to offer burnt offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. Notice the difference in offerings. Because the brazen altar, which he built exponentially larger than the tabernacle's altar, he made the temple's altar much bigger. There, because the brazen altar which Solomon had made was not able to receive the burnt offerings and the meat offerings and the fat offerings. Do y'all know what happened right there? Can I tell y'all what happened right there? The altar that Solomon had made, very, very big, very, very efficient, but this was special because they were dedicating the temple. There was a dedication offering that Solomon prepared from the nation, and then there was still the offerings from the people, everybody there. So to get the temple to work properly, he had to push back the place where they could stand and move them back and hollowed out the middle of the area in front of the tabernacle, the temple, so that they could bring the bulls, the goats, and the priests could operate there. And they erected apparently an additional type of offering so they could do those other offerings, which in fact, the dedication offerings and the peace offerings were done in one area, and the temple offerings on the temple brazen altar were taking care of those things that were sacred according to the writ. These peace offerings, this dedication offering, all that stuff needed to be done in order, and the priests knew what to do. This is what made the Queen of Sheba lose her mind. I can't believe how unique you guys are. I can't believe how efficient you guys are. There ain't enough sacrifice that can come to that temple that the priests in their rank and file cannot accomplish. And yes, everybody gives sacrifice during the feast. When I go into Yom Kippur today, and as I lead many of you in, I have to ask the Father to help me because I need him to clean house for me. It'll always happen because it happened to Yeshua, it happened to Moshe, it happened to Paul, it happened to Kepha, it happened to James. It'll always happen to you and to me. Where people you thought you were rearing and training. I like the way Yeshua did it. He did it best. And I want y'all to talk to me, so get your fingers to come on mute. Do you remember when Yeshua told his disciples, not the world, he told his disciples, I got so much more I want to tell y'all, but y'all not ready for it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You have a person who when you have someone who teaches from building and lifting the blocks of instruction, you will always have people, and this is why Yamim Narim is so important, and we are all subject to it, who can be low-key jealous. And it's not a matter of jealousy like King David and King David and Saul. It's not what I'm talking about. You cannot realize, like I had to check myself about what I was jealous over. And yeah, I'm bringing all that, wrote it all down, bringing it into this day, shredding it when I leave this day. When you have someone who cares enough to make sure that everything from the writ is what you see and you hear. I'm coming, Uganda. I'm coming, South Africa. When you do this and you are teaching your people that you have been asked by the people to lead, remember that everybody who comes to learn of you, who comes to glean at your table, usually want to take the recipes home. And even though as a chef, you're willing to give them every single recipe and the ingredients that are hard to find for free to them, you find the heart of a person and how they respond to free, valuable gifts. The moment they monetize the free, valuable gift you gave them, you realize what you're dealing with. There's a phrase in your Bible, and I hope it clicks. Freely I have received, and therefore freely I give. It's a real lifestyle for me. And when I see laboring over what I give for free to people who did not know, start teaching them how to use a shovel, how to use a pick, how to use the water hose, how to use the brush, how to use the hyssop, how to use the blood. And then you want to sell it for likes and fame and notoriety. We're not of the same spirit. So in Yom Kippur, for me, I got to let Yahweh reset me again, because sometimes you can think everybody is what they say about him. Everybody fails. Everybody commits fornication. Everybody commits adultery. Everybody commits covetousness. Everybody commits stealing. Everybody commits lying. Everybody commits everything. This ain't that. That's why his mercies are new every morning. But when you are trying to literally be pleasing to the Father, it ain't about you not erring in sin. It's about you propagating him rightly again. And the moment your motive for how and why you propagate him changes, you are not that child of Elohim. Please do not cause him to say, woe unto you, because you can't keep your mouth shut long enough to let Yahweh fill your brain with his words that seep into your heart. Because what you say to people will direct them to him or away from him. And each of us are accountable, whose blood will be on our hands if we lead people away from him, because we in our feelings about what we think the ministry I'm in is asking for, the pastors that we're listening to are talking about. Make sure you know the writ for yourself. There are so many things I want to share with you all right now, but I can't. Because you will probably be like, I can't bear that all right now. I was just glad to know about the 9 days we bring a lamb. You mean to tell me there's more to this? I'm not ready. So you start by obeying the simplest of compliances. As you do that, Yahweh exponentially increases you, but it requires consistency from you. This system works. He's already doing it. You are paying interest to loans for your car, for your mortgage, for your business, for your equipment, from people who live this system and not trying to tell you this system. And when Yahweh's bringing it to your door, you want to reject the system because you may not like the person bringing it to you. Though you sit there and listen because the information you haven't got at the places that you are familiar with. Don't be those kind of people. Elohim is for you. I pray you can be for him. Comply with what he's looking for, people of Elohim. We are just hours away from me. South Africa, I know you guys are in. Uganda, I know you guys are in. Vietnam, I know you guys are in. China, I know you guys are in. You guys are already in, and we're going to come. UK, you're going in sooner than later. Eastern USA, you're going in sooner. West Coast, Mountain Central Time, Hawaii, you guys are going in soon as well. But listen to this closely. If you're going to do a thing, do it right. Stop second guessing Elohim with your brain, because your brain is not like his. It's made like his. Your thoughts coming out of your brains on your intellect are as far as the heavens are from the earth in sight of him. Until you know what his word says by 2 or 3 witnesses, stop using your mouth to say stuff that is not his word, and then think you are leading the people of God to him. The word he uses for that foolishness and irresponsibility is W-O-E. Look it up in the Greek or in the Hebrew. You don't want that. Shut your mouth. Open your eyes to his word. Open your ears to his word. Let it fill your heart. Then when it fills your heart, your mouth will speak. But until then, guard your tongue. Because if somebody goes left because of what you said, yeah, that's on you. And I just prefer not to be associated or attached to it. But I'll be here for you when you come to your senses and realize I need to be taught before I can go and teach. I am not perfect. But if you ask a question, we are going to find it together. I will not dictate what you learn, but I will show you the dictation that Yahweh gave to the scribe called Moshe. And then we can search out everything he said by 2 or 3 witnesses. Stop playing old style Christianity in this new style and understanding of kingdom. They don't mix. As the head of DKM Ministries and VWJ Ministries and all the great pastors that allow for me to teach them and cover them, you affect more people than just me when you talk off of this platform, error. So if you want to make sure you're not in error, sit with me or whoever we've got set and ordained to help you learn your Bible, your Torah better. In my apostolic mantle, I lay these before you so that we can enter into unity. Because if you out back, you're not at the kitchen table with us. You cause everyone to be in harm. Stop aching. One man took that gold, took that purple, and when Yahweh found out, he charged all of Israel for it. Stop aching. That's what Yamim Nareem is about. You stop aching, and we as a people can stop aching. We can become consistent with his plan and carry it out for his glory. And in that, now Devarim 28 falls on us all. You ain't got to be perfect. Just don't be out here speaking in error. To eliminate that, you have a safe place you can learn. Use it. Your thoughts are not like his, nor are mine. But his word, when we open our eyes and our hearts together, gives us his word and understanding. Father, I thank you for the opportunity to teach and to share and prepare us for what we must do in these next couple of hours. Those that are in South Africa and that are associated with us, have mercy on us while we come into the blowing of your shofar in the season and the time that they are in. Those that are, Father, slated and scheduled for the itinerary and the programming that we have, we're asking you to grace us with the wisdoms of you to deal with that and understand that. I ask this of you, and I'm asking you to grace us more and more with your word. We want to know you. We want to embrace you. We want to experience you. We only want you, and we want to get rid of what's in us. We want to get rid of our intellect. We don't want to lose it. We just want you to direct it. Intellect is not bad. Education is not bad. But Father, our disobedience to you in every way, whether it's us going to work, whether it's not us not bringing our offerings as you've prescribed, as you've sanctioned, whatever it is that we have done, we want to comply. Some of our hearts are heavy because we've not prepared. We just took it for granted. We were nonchalant about it, and we figured that you knew our heart. As this day comes about, we desire to comply. And Father, I curse every thief. And my cursing is that they would not be able to steal again. And in that, I ask you to give them resurrection of life. Bring them to the knowledge of salvation by rending their hearts, not their garments, dropping their bags and satchels at the door, and adding value to where you've placed them. Getting through feelings and emotions that have nothing to do with the carrying out of your word and the propagating of your kingdom in the earth. Help me. Help me to be like you. It's a monumental task. I don't even know how to attain it. All I know is just as I go along, show me what Yeshua would do. Show me what Adonai would do. Show me what Torah would do. Show me what you would us do in spite of my feelings. Inside, I found a war going on inside of me. But nevertheless, of the two wills at play, I'm begging you, let your will be done. So as we approach you in Yom Kippur, I show you me, every hidden itinerary, every hidden agenda, every false way, every element, every patch of vomit I've run back to, every movement without you I've made. I acknowledge you and I need you. Reset us, reset me. We prepare to enter in. From China to Vietnam, Uganda, Sri Lanka, Mali, Father, South Africa, Ghana, the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Mexico. Those with us in Panama. Those of us in the continental US of A and those we've just met in Hawaii. Help us to feast by fasting with you. I love you and I adore you. And I get righteously indignant about you. So your blood, we ask, to cleanse us from where we are wrong, because we don't have to defend you. But keep this house secure. Keep this kingdom post yours. Your authority reigns in this place. You have sublet it as an outlet of your kingdom. Help us to turn back to you and you alone. I forgive everyone. And I ask you to forgive me. I search for you. And as I search, if you would have me lead in search, give me the light upon my feet and path. Let me stumble and be hit before the people following get hit so they can see where not to go. Let me serve. If it's your will. And your word says it is. So I surrender all that I am to you. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. This is a lifestyle. And we want it. So we bring ourselves into alignment. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Listen, Zion. This is very serious, and many people will probably not take it as seriously as it needs to be. And though the moment may have you engulfed in questions about why is Apostle so vehement today? What is this about in his soul? It's about rightness. We preach it, teach it, push it, endorse it vehemently. Rightness. Rightness doesn't even manifest in our members as a manifestation. It starts in us from his instructions. So today, his instructions are, have your lambs. I want y'all to go and play with Numbers 29 if you want to. I'd rather you stumble upon it yourselves and then ask the questions. Inside of Numbers 29, there are priest requirements and people requirements. So don't let it freak you out. I'd rather you make the inquiry rather than me just teach it. Because if I teach it to you, you'll throw half of it away. But if you ask, you'll hold at least 80% of it because you want to know. These feasts are for you. And when the enemy sees you completing them, he knows he can't touch you. Why do you think David cried? You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy. All of these are feasts. All of these are tables Yahweh is preparing and requesting. And the enemy can't do nothing about it if you comply with it. Now you can never read that passage the same way either. Paul, I beg you, brothers, by the mercies, sukkah, of Elohim, that you present your bodies, Yom Kippur, Yom Teruah, Sukkah, Pesach, Shavuot, a living sacrifice. Kodesh, be ye Kodesh, for I am Kodesh, unto Elohim. For this is your reasonable service. It's only 9 days in 365 days. 3 weeks of 52 weeks, reasonable service. Did y'all know this is the only time he wants y'all to go to church? As a congregation? Is his feasts? But we'll do everything else and never do him and think he should be in everything else. This is what matters to Elohim in the kingdom. Present your bodies, I beg you. Don't come before him empty. If you do have the means and you know how to do it right. Don't play with it. If it ain't for you, your heart and your mind knows what his word says. I got to get to South Africa. They're going to be a little bit salty with me. I got to get to Uganda. I got to get there fast. But be here tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and culminating at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the concluding and the prayer over the prayer of Sukkah, the prayer of Yom Kippur. This is a real thing. This is his thing. Who you with? So, for the sake of understanding, tonight you will bring your lambs. Those of you in South Africa, you can go ahead and get your lamb in before we come, because you bring your lamb to the actual place. Once we blow the shofar, that is the alert that it's time to come before the Father. You guys are a little bit late. Vietnam, China, you should have already gotten your lambs in. And if you pay attention to Numbers 29, it should make you strive to budget for next year to be where you need to be in him. This ain't a game. This is life. So today, bring your lamb. Pastors, leaders, you preaching to the world, telling the world, bring your bull, bring your ram, bring your lamb. Rest of you, bring your lambs. Follow the instructions. So we know for a fact, as we give you this banner and its instruction, look at the channels on YouTube, Facebook. You will be bringing before Yahweh on these days. The area in the red is Tishri 10, the day you're in, about to be in. Some of you are in. US, you're about to go in. And then you'll be coming back with a lamb on the 15th. You'll be coming back with your lambs on the 15th through the 22nd, but definitely the 15th, definitely the 22nd. Don't come before him empty. And then follow the instructions on what he requires for that season. That's what's called prescribed. We'll also give you, as we've posted already on our YouTube and on our Facebook pages, we've already given you the season and the schedule for next year. So you take this schedule off of our page and present these dates to your HR, your clients, your job, so that you can be off those days. Remember, he wants you off on the Moedim. So for tonight, for many of you who are here, who will be coming into this fast season, this feast, which is a fast, you will be giving a lamb. Based on inflation, based on market price, market value, your lamb at the low end, we've monetized it, is at $330. Your ram, RAM, is also at $330. Place yourself in position to honor Elohim. Again, think on his word. Don't let yourself get caught in what you can't do. I heard Ruach say to remind us, and I want you guys to get ready to come off mute. Moderators, I need all leaders saying this. If you don't believe it, don't say it, but put yourself down in the audience. This is a prophetic moment for this house being aired out in public. Repeat this. I can do all things through Messiah who strengthens me.
I can do all things through me.
Yahweh is very clear. He's very specific. He's very intentional. If you want him to do it, he will do it. If you give him your heart, he will make sure it is taken care of. Be where he needs you to be. I got to go. South Africa's been very patient. Did y'all learn anything today? If you learned something today, Clubhouse, give me some heart signs. Let me know. If you didn't, hey, put the thumbs down sign. I don't care. But I want to make sure that we walk into Sukkah with our hearts seeing ourselves and our minds wanting to be cleansed and purified in him. All right, Clubhouse gave me 2 hearts. Okay. Maybe my screen's messed up.
Your screen is messed up. I see 10, 12.
Okay. Well, thank you for the 10 and 12. I can do all things through Messiah. You can do what Yahweh wants you to do. He's already blessed you to do it. And if you pay attention in this season, he'll make sure you're budgeted for the next season. Remember, what you do in Sukkah affects your Pesach. What you do in Sukkah affects your spring feast. You sow here, he gives you rain here because you're sowing here. Then that affects your summer harvest. And then that affects your perpetuity of harvesting until you come to the Feast of Ingatherings, when you gather everything that you have been benefiting from to this point, and then the cycle starts over. That's been in your Bible all the time. There's no new book that had to make this and reveal this. It's in the writ. All right, everybody. Right now, we're also here because we are a fivefold ministry. And we are, in fact, believing in the word. At this moment, we want to receive our offerings. We do and are a command and Torah-driven entity. We do believe that the tithing and the offering are necessary for all things. In the day of Sunday at sundown until Monday at sundown, I will be back and forth all day with the script and the prayer that you and I are to pray. Did y'all know Yahweh wrote the play, the rehearsal out for us? We don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff. He told us what to do. He just said, do this. That's it. Let's learn what he wants. The Bible goes on to let us know that also the tithing. Just because you're giving your offering don't mean that you stop giving your tithing. If you pay close attention to what we read to you in First Chronicles, we'll be reading that also during Sukkah. We'll be reading that during Yom Kippur. All this 24 hours, you're going to have so many passages. We'll go back into Chronicles. We'll go back into Numbers. We'll go back into Leviticus. We'll go back in Devarim. We'll go back to Bamidbar. We'll go back in all of the writ. We'll go back to Hebrews that tells you which part of the New Testament are in alignment with this. Did y'all know that when Paul got his hand bit by the serpent, it was during the season of Sukkah because they kept him from getting to Sukkah? That's why the ship fell apart. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that that's why the ship fell apart?
No.
Because they wouldn't take him to Sukkah.
Yes.
Wow. Right? That's what you should say. So much to learn. Father, we thank you for the time and opportunity. Bless these your people who now have understood and will give their tithing and their offering according to your will, your purpose, and your plan. Father, this is not about money. This is all about your purpose. This is all about your will. This is all about your word. We're asking you to grace us with the wisdoms and the understandings of you, that everything regarding you are now manifested for and because of you. In the precious name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Grace us with your wisdom. Share with us your purpose and truth. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen.
We've had some weirdness happen on our platform. I'm going to be restricting a lot of things this coming after Sukkah. So prepare for some changes, much like your clubhouse changes. We'll be having some major changes. I'm also experiencing some things on my platform here. Somehow how do you donate to this ministry has disappeared off of my StreamYard. So I'll have to have that recreated and redone so that can get to you guys. So just go to vwjministries.com, hit the yellow button at the right-hand part of the screen. It will take you into a donations contribution of the greatest EFT on the internet you can know. Never had problems. You'll never be hacked. Go there. You'll need to do that for your tithing as well as your offering. Did y'all know that tithing and offering is not something that Christendom came up with? That is Elohim. So you give your tithing, but your offerings are not you having. Can I explain this to y'all real quick?
Please do.
You've been taught tithing and offerings are, okay, if I make $100, I give a tenth. That is correct. There are other tithes that are yearly and seasonal. But the tithe, and we'll be teaching on that. And after Sukkah, we always teach in November on the whole month on tithing. But for y'all to get this, your tithing and offering that your church holds is not because you made $1,000 this week, you give $100 offering, tithe, and then you give an offering. You can. But when Malachi talked about your tithes and your offering, he was talking about your tithe, a command of Elohim, not your free will offerings, but your commanded offerings. So we were taught, and I've been taught, there's nothing wrong with giving. There's nothing wrong with charity. But some of those free will offerings do go to other people. But your commanded offerings is what you bring into the storehouse. Because your charity to the widow, your charity to the fatherless, your charity to the homeless, that's an offering to Elohim, to them. But your commanded offering for Sukkah, Pesach, Shavuot, that's what you bring into his storehouse, along with your tithe, every income stream. You just learned something. I hope you remember it. Go to vwjministries.com for your tithing and your offering. If you are giving to a ministry that is participating with this and understand that it is value, make sure you get that in before the Sabbath goes away, and prepare your hearts. Again, after you've done the will, you're going to have need of patience, because if you do the will in Sukkah, your patience will be waiting for Pesach, because this seed affects the rain in Pesach. After you've done the will, you have need of patience. But that which will come shall come, and it will not tarry. It's just a teach, Remy. I'm sorry. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to share your gospel and your word with your people. Help us now as we move across these areas and elements. I'm trusting you that you will help us to do what is necessary and needful to comply and honor you. Help us not to be fake about our compliance or shy away because we didn't compare and then disappear inside the ministry at these times and then reappear after we think it's okay to come back through. Help us to be true to ourselves. Help us to be true to you in our inward parts. You want truth from us. And in our hidden parts, you'll make us to know wisdom. This we pray in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, Zion, put your palms together, put your hands in front of you, put your hands together, put your palms in front of your chest like you are expecting Yahweh to pour out blessing you don't have room enough to receive. It's real simple. Palms up, hands out. There's a blessing in Numbers 20, chapter 6, that speaks to what Yahweh wants to do. And this is all associated to that. He told Moshe, when my people observe and do what I've commanded you all, put this, my name on them, and I will bless them. This is what Yahweh said. Here is the prayer Aaron and Moshe were told to put over the people. We now put it over you. By the way, Yeshua spoke this over his Talmudim before he ascended. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine on you and be gracious unto you. May Yahweh lift his countenance upon you and grant you all 13 attributes of his shalom. This we pray in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. We say, Amen. Well, Zion, it's been a joy and a pleasure to be with you. Hope to see you again soon tonight. Look for all the schedules. We look forward to it.
Let's talk kingdom. He's the one you can lean on. He don't change. He stays the same. Won't find a better reason. No. So come tap in. Just listen and bring a friend. Let's spread this vision. Let's talk kingdom. He's the one you can lean on. He don't
we want to offer an opportunity to also understand those of you who are in South Africa, Uganda, and I'm going to incorporate Ghana. I'm going to ask you all to meet us in the Clubhouse space on Clubhouse. I'll have that room reset for you all that we can come in, blow the shofar, and move on into your time of Yom Kippur and your fasting. And we'll take the word from there. I'll see you in just a few moments on Clubhouse in the South Africa, Uganda, and Ghana flag over that room. UK will be back at 3:30 for you all. East Coast USA 7 p.m. West Coast Central and Mountain Times will be back at 10:30 p.m. for you all. Let's join in. Let's prepare to see and meet the presence of Yahweh and his spirit in this season. Have a great day.